Do you find it challenging or difficult to recall things from your past, whether it's a memory or a feeling, emotional, physical, mental block of some sort? I am Tavish Cardiff. It is our Raw Materials Wholeness Week, the final week in the cycle. So this week, as we celebrate our wholeness, I'd like to pull all of the weeks together a little bit and just look at what we've been through. Weeks 1 through 4 are very personal, from our mentors to the things that we listen to and connect to outside of ourselves, to how we are nourished, to our own knowledge and what it means to us, and especially in relation to the world at large. The next 4 weeks, we call those the allowing weeks, where you just realize what you've been through, what you came in with. This is really the substance that is your raw material. The second set of weeks runs us through what we actually do based on our raw material. So, how we emote, whether we say things out loud or even to ourselves, what we listen to, what we actually take in, and what sort of news feed we bring to ourselves, as well as the background stuff that we don't really pay attention to. It just gets into our subconscious. Our values and ideals, the ways that we were formed, and the ways that our concept of what is valuable is formed, and the way that we conceive of ideals, the way that we dream, what we have passion, purpose, and powerful energy towards. The last 4, intention, resources, aligning with intention, and finally, the week we find ourselves in right now, wholeness, where we manifest, where we get the things that we want. And we can identify them based on the other 8 pillars. So once we've gotten to pillar 12, wholeness, we should be able to take a look at our past without the pain or the challenge or the difficulty in just recalling things that used to be present. The more we work with each pillar, the more these memories and these feelings are available to us to transform their energy, not to dig in and have to relive the emotion. I think it's really cool the way that we get to touch the emotion, but just see it and give it a different space, give it a different tone, give it something that is more valuable than what we have been carrying around for it. So many of our memories are connected to unresolved feelings. And when we look at our wholeness, it's being able to accept every single piece of us. Take a breath and really, invite all of those orphaned parts that we have wished were somewhere else or someone else's. Invite them in and give them the love and respect that they deserve. Mine these traumatic moments for their experience. There is great lesson in our trauma. There are great things to be learned from what we go through that is challenging and that is difficult. Because the reality is, it's okay for us to be uncomfortable. It's okay for us to go through situations that are a little bit challenging, a little bit difficult. We push ourselves. The universe does that for us a lot of the time. And we are okay with it when it was our idea. But in wholeness, we really need to accept what is actually laid before us and take a look at the tools readily available right in front of us. Water, breath, and alignment. I'll stress again right here, H2OM. The more we pay attention to our breath, especially the exhale, the more exaggerated your exhales are, the more you're getting rid of that energy that keeps stale things stuck within your body. So the more you play around with breathing into your cells, releasing that, it seems so silly when you first start doing it. But as you realize that it actually activates the cells in your body, it actually moves energy around, it actually helps you shift emotional spaces so that things that were really challenging are now interesting. And you become curious about what else there is. Personally, I had a pretty serious trauma uncover for me in the last couple of days. And it's really strange to be looking at it from this perspective, feeling all of the feelings. And I'm not, I think with anything, there's a bit of denial that begins in those stages of grief. So I would say I'm still in the denial stage to some degree. So take this with a grain of salt. But I am able to objectively look at the situation and really see how it has affected my life and see how this thing makes sense. And also, for me personally, getting to spend the last 35 years not carrying this with me as part of my baggage. I'm very grateful that now is the time that I'm unpacking this and realizing it's part of my experience, not at a time where I wouldn't have been able to find value in it. And that is difficult for me to say because I don't want to condone people who create traumatic situations and traumatic behavior. Wholeness can be challenging and it can be difficult. To take in the idea that every single moment is perfect and exactly the way it's supposed to be is very difficult to breathe around. There's so much there that our brains fire off about that don't seem perfect. And when we say the word perfect, we have this ideal imagination of what perfect is. The reality is what the universe gives us is what it calls perfect. It's our perspective and it's our mind that adjusts what that is to be something skewed, something that's more like a snapshot. And we see ourselves as human beings more and more disconnected from the self that we were given and doing all sorts of things we can to change our physical appearance, to change the way that we look to the rest of the world. I don't have a strong opinion on that other than it's not how I'm going to spend my time and energy, but I understand that every single one of us is completely different and the things that are valuable to us are different. Our place in the world is different. That's where I am in my experience. I'm not looking for outward validation, but that doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of people that that's very valuable to. And we have to honor the value system that is in place for every human being because our values are where we live. Our values are the thing that we're going to protect and that we might wind up getting defensive about. So understanding where a person's values are, whether you agree with them or not, is the best way to pay them respect and the best way to experience yourself in wholeness and experience other people in wholeness. The entire point of our raw material is being able to gain clarity with each of these 12 pillars, to establish a relationship that lets you understand how this energy operates in your life and how it has operated throughout your life, to see the connections that show up over and over as you experience your own wholeness, just going through your own memories. It's so cool and it's such a fun experience. It seems maybe tedious and it seems maybe scary, but the way that we go at this from a mind-body connection, not just intellectually trying to dig up dirt on yourself, this helps us clear our breath and clear our physical body so that everything in our body works better. Our oxygen flows more easily. It gets to the places that are stuck. We're not as dehydrated. Our heart works better. Every single system in our body works better when we are breathing with intention. In wholeness, we get to experience all of the parts of ourselves as valid and important, and that is a different way than we have been taught to see ourselves or to live our lives. So when we really do pull apart exactly who we are, figure out ways to celebrate it, figure out ways that the things about you that you've been trying to hide might actually be the cool things that other people just don't know they would connect to. When we can see every bit of our experience as having some intrinsic value, even the most traumatic things that happen, that gives us a perspective that changes the way we see everything. And that's really the only way I can describe it. You can't explain this to a mind and not have it filter through the body to be able to actually understand what I'm saying. But once you feel some of these tight spaces clear within your body just from breathing, you'll start to see how opening up your own wholeness leads you into this place where you start to feel really happy just being you. It's a very different way, especially if you've never felt happy being you. This can shift life in a way that makes it have more meaning and more purpose. Experiencing yourself in wholeness is about as cool as it gets. My challenge for this week is to back up and see the bigger picture. When you see yourself judging something or asking a question like, why would a person do whatever the person in front of you is doing, or on the news, or whatever it is, why would a person do that? Just answer the question. Just come up with a reason in your head why a person would do that. It could be the silliest reason in the world, but as long as you answer the question, you're not left asking why. And you get to move on. And it's kind of fun to give a backstory to things that we don't understand. It doesn't have to be a real backstory. It's just one that lets you move to the next thought and move to the next place and actually see reason where you didn't see reason before. There are so many things that trip us up and make us tight and make us unable to breathe freely and get to nourish ourselves with the oxygen that our body really, really would love to just absorb and expel. Our raw material and the relationship with each pillar gives us the opportunity to actually sit in wholeness with everything that we are and feel good about it and give it a chance to, when there's a negative feeling or expression, take it to the edge of the ocean and let it wash over you and let it wash back like a wave. Let these things come to you through you, and you will find yourself clearer, whole, and experiencing yourself in a way that feels very different than what you have had up to this point. I want to say thank you to everyone who listened in on this session. I'm not sure what our next session looks like, as always, but it starts on March 20th. March 20th, I believe, is our next start date, the spring equinox. And we will be back with mentors. Don't forget, you can pick up this practice at any point in the 365 days of the year, no matter which week it is, no matter which season we're in. It always starts on the solstice and the equinox, but feel free to just jump in naturally as it occurs to you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your focus. Happy wholeness.